Hello everyone, this is Javelin of English Tutor Hub and welcome back to my channel. Today we're gonna look at adjectives ending in ing and ed. So let's start. On Saturday, I watched an interesting match about tennis. I am very interested in tennis match. John didn't like tennis much. He was bored. John thinks that tennis match is boring. In this example, interesting and interested are both adjectives. Remember, adjectives describe nouns, things or people, and nouns are things, people, or even animals. Alright? But interesting and interested have both different meanings. They look similar, the spelling is very similar, but the meaning is different. And it is the same with boring and bored. They are also adjectives, and the meaning of boring and bored is also different. So they have different meanings. And this lesson we will concentrate on ing and ed, adjectives which are related to feelings. Alright? So we will look at the origin of both types of adjectives and how they are formed, and the meaning and use of ing adjectives, and also the meaning and use of ed adjectives. And I will give you examples of the most common ing and ed adjectives. So let's look at the origin of ing and ed adjective. First of all, I would like to tell you that we are only discussing adjectives related to feelings because they confuse students. They confuse students because they have both an ing and an ed form. These adjectives and feelings, they both have an ing and ed form. They both have an ing form and also an ed form. So students often do not know which form they should use. So the origin, ing, the origin again, ing and ed are formed from verbs. I repeat, the origin, ing and ed are formed from verbs. So students often do not know which form they should use. So the origin, ing and ed are formed from verbs. For example, the verb to interest. The verb to interest, example, tennis. Tennis match interests me. This is a verb. tennis interests me. And the origin of the ing adjective is, well, we form it by adding ing. We form it by adding ing to the end of the verb. So interest is a verb, gives us the adjective interesting. And this particular type of ing form, is called the present participle. But it is very important to understand that we are using it as an adjective. Okay? It is very important to understand that we are using it as an adjective. This is now an adjective. Okay? This is now an adjective. We don't consider it as a verb. We have transformed the verb as an adjective. So if you're looking at dictionary, the word interesting, it will say that it is an adjective and not a verb. Alright? And so, an example, I watched an interesting movie. This is the adjective interesting, and it's describing a noun, movie. And the ed adjective is also formed by adding ed to the end of the verb. And this time we add ed to the end of the verb. So interest becomes interested. And this particular ed form is called the past participle. We are using it as an adjective. So we are transforming a verb into an adjective, and we now consider it only as an adjective. Example, I am very interested in tennis match. So interested, the adjective is describing the subject, I or me. And notice the form of the expression. We say in English, interested in something. To be interested in tennis match or in any sports. Alright? So that's the origin. Both of them come from verbs. Now, let's look at the ing. Let's look at the ing adjectives of feeling, meaning, and use. So here is an example. I watched an interesting tennis match. Remember guys, the origin of the adjective interesting is the verb interest. Now, the meaning of an ing adjective describes the cause of the feeling. We can also say an ing adjective describes the source of the feeling. So we can also say an ing adjective describes the source of the feeling. Okay? So source of the feeling is the tennis match. Okay? So source of the feeling is the tennis match. What is the source of the interest? What is the source of the interest? Well, it is the tennis match. That is the source of the interest. And we can also say the tennis match interests me. Okay? We can also say that the tennis match interests me. The tennis match is the source of the feeling. Therefore, we use the ing adjective. We use the ing adjectives of feelings can describe people or animals. It is an interesting match. Tennis match is the source or the feeling of interest. Ing adjectives of feeling, here we go. Ing adjectives of feelings can describe people or animals. So, for example, I like Peter because he is interesting. So, in this example, a person, Peter, is the source of the feeling of interest. We like him because he is interesting. Here is an example of an animal. The dog doesn't like to play it. It is very boring. So, the dog is the source of the feeling. It is the cause of the feeling. Ing adjective of feelings. Here, ing adjectives of feelings can also describe things like objects. So here, the movie was boring. Bangkok was an exciting city. So the movie is the source. Here, the movie is the source of the feeling. The movie wasn't good. The movie wasn't good. It was boring. Alright? So that is ing adjectives. It is the source of the feeling. Now, ed adjectives of feeling, meaning, and use. Now, ed adjectives are slightly different. The example is, I am very interested in tennis match. Remember again, the origin of the adjective interested is the verb interest. But the difference is an ed adjective describes a person or animal who has the feeling. So we are describing the feeling, not the source of the feeling, but the feeling itself. Who is feeling the interest? It is me. Tennis match interests me. So the ed adjective describes my feeling. This is the important thing. The ed adjective describes the feeling itself. So here, I am very interested in tennis match. So the ed, adjectives of feeling, only describe people or sometimes animals, because we consider animals also have feelings, often physical feeling. Example: Peter is excited because he is going to Bangkok next week. And the dog was very excited when it saw Peter. Okay, so the dog has a feeling. The dog is feeling excited. So we are concentrating on the feeling. The person, or sometimes the animal, who is experiencing the feeling. Now, this is very important part of the lesson. The ed, adjectives of feeling, do not describe things, because things do not have feelings or emotions. So, the movie was bored, which is wrong, because an ed adjective describes a feeling or emotions. Bangkok was an excited city. It can't feel emotion. Okay, so this is also wrong. Bangkok can be a source of feeling. We could say Bangkok is an exciting city. So ing form, but excited ed is wrong. This is very important. So let's move on to the summary of rules. So if we are describing a thing or an object and not a person, then we use an ing adjective to describe the source of a feeling. Interesting movie, exciting city, a boring film. But we do not use an ed adjective to describe a feeling or a thing. We never do this. But for a thing, it is quite easy, because it is always an ing adjective. But when we describe person, or when we describe a person, or sometimes an animal, then we have a choice. We use an ing adjective if the person or animal is the source of a feeling. So example, interesting actor. He is boring. The dog is frightening. So for person or animal, if it is the source of a feeling, then we use an ing adjectives, or we use an ed adjectives if the person or animal is having the feeling. A person or animal is having the feeling or is experiencing the feeling. So examples here. He is interested in biology. She is bored. The dog is frightened. So things are easy, but students have problems because for a person or animal there is a choice and they have to decide which is the correct one. So here, students make mistakes because both ing and ed adjectives can be used for people and animals. Okay, so let me give you an example. Here, the dog is frightened. And another one, the dog is frightened. These two sentences or both sentences are correct, but the meaning is very different. So both sentences, the dog is frightening, the dog is frightened. So both sentences are possible. Okay, this is grammatically correct. So this is grammatically correct. The dog is frightened, and so is the dog is frightened, but the meaning is different. So let's look at the meaning. So here with the ing, the dog is the source of the feeling, and the dog frightened us here, and the dog frightened us. But here, the dog is experiencing a feeling, so the dog is afraid. The dog is frightened. Dog is frightened. ed form. Alright? So the question in that you need to ask yourself, is the person or animal the source of the feeling? So if the person or animal is the source of the feeling, and if yes, then we use an ing adjective. Is the person or animal having the feeling? If yes, then we use an ed adjective. Alright? And now I'm gonna give you a list of the common adjectives of feeling with ing form and ed form. So here we are. ing form, ed form, and verbs. We all know again that both the ing form and the ed form, the origin are from verbs. Okay, so I'm used, annoying, annoyed, confusing, confused, disappointing, disappointed, depressing, depressed, exciting, excited, frustrating, frustrated, frightening, frightened, interesting, interested, shocking, shocked, surprising, surprised, tiring, tired, worrying, worried. And obviously in this video there is not much enough time to explain all of these words. So just use your dictionaries for the meaning of these words. Alright, but these are the most common ones, and they all have very good meaning. From ing form compared to the ed form. This is the feeling, and this is the source of the feeling. So guys, that's the end of this lesson. Please visit the official website englishtutorhub.com for a complete transcript and to get a downloadable materials for this lesson. Please subscribe, leave your comments, and let me know your thoughts and questions. Love to hear from you. My name's Javelin. Thank you for watching. See you on my next video.